Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Doud here, working remotely once again because I have to and I can. And I'm using a new microphone I picked up from my friends at Samson. It's a super portable mic with fold-out legs called the Satellite microphone. It's meant for podcasters, so, me. And it comes with a micro USB to lightning cable so you can hook it up directly to an iPhone or iPad, which is neat. I'm not using that setup right now because GarageBand on iPad is kind of terrible. Anyway, I tossed a quick link to the microphone in the show notes, so if you want to give it a whirl, you can pick one up. And the lawyers tell me that I have to tell you that if you click on the link, it won't cost you anything, but we'll get a little piece, so you'll be helping to support the show. But enough with the legal stuff, let's get to the show. It is January 8th, 2020, and this is your Digit Daily. Sorry about all that legal stuff. It's all so boring, isn't it? Well, let's get to our top story today. Sonos is suing Google, claiming that Google stole some technology Sonos uses for its wireless speaker design. Actually, according to Sonos, both Google and Amazon stole technology from them, but poor $1.7 billion with a B dollar Sonos only has enough money to sue one of them. Wow, my heart weeps. Anyway, the New York Times has the story. According to the story, Sonos partnered with Google starting in 2013 when it started integrating Google Play Music into its speakers. 2 years later, Google launched the now-defunct Chromecast Audio, which apparently infringed on Sonos' patented multi-room music capability. And what little I know about patent law, the patent is probably something like, I have a speaker playing music, and now I can have another speaker play music in a different room. And that's like the patent. Not exactly groundbreaking, Sonos. Now, for the record, that's me making stuff up, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's close to the truth. Apparently, as part of integrating Google Play Music, which is software by the way, Sonos felt that they had to hand over the blueprints for its speakers for some reason. And at the time, Google didn't make speakers, so what's the harm, they figured. Sonos describes the move as naive. Yeah, naive is a much nicer word. Sonos claims that not only did Google swipe their patents, but they used them to flood the market with cheap speakers that use the tech, despite being warned as many as 4 times dating back to 2016. It's also interesting to note that despite the fact that Sonos claims that Google infringed on over 100 patents, it's only suing Google for 5 of them. According to Sonos CEO Patrick Spence, quote, Google has been blatantly and knowingly copying our patented technology. Despite our repeated and extensive efforts over the last few years, Google has not shown any willingness to work with us on a mutually beneficial solution. We're left with no choice but to litigate. Google spokesperson Jose Castaneda said that, quote, over the years, we have had numerous ongoing conversations with Sonos about both companies' IP rights, and we are disappointed that Sonos brought these lawsuits instead of continuing negotiations in good faith. We dispute these claims and will defend them vigorously. Which honestly kind of makes me think that Google knows it did something wrong here. Meanwhile, Amazon says, we didn't steal nothing. My takeaways here are as follows. First, if both Google and Amazon managed to steal Sonos' technology, maybe Sonos is the one with the problem. Fool me once and all that. Second, if Google and Amazon both stole Sonos' technology, they did a crappy job of doing it because all those smart speakers sound like crap. And finally, apparently the only way to push around a billion-dollar company is to be a trillion-dollar company, which in a really twisted way actually makes sense. Maybe Google will just buy Sonos and make this all go away. Lord knows they could use the better-sounding speaker tech. So while we sit back and watch this clash of the titans, let's head into the roundup! OnePlus's vanishing camera trick is not just a gimmick, it turns out. You'll recall we talked about OnePlus hiding its rear cameras behind electrochromic glass to make them disappear. Well, as it turns out, that glass can also be used as an ND filter, which basically gives a photographer the ability to control how much light actually gets through to the sensor. I'm not nearly enough of a photographer myself to know why that's important, but suffice it to say it can be important, and it's certainly the only phone out there that does this. It's CES, so Google is naturally rolling out new Assistant features. The first features revolve around privacy, where you can ask Google to delete recordings and change privacy settings with your voice rather than relying on an app. Also, Google is previewing a new way for Assistant to read long-form articles and news stories using multiple voice datasets to create more expressive voice, rather than listening to a robot drone on and on, because nobody wants to listen to that, including my listeners, which is why I'm no longer going to speak like this, because I like you and I don't want you to turn this off, and neither does Google. Facebook executive Andrew Bosworth wrote a very long memo to employees in which he told them that Facebook totally got Donald Trump elected in 2016, and Facebook should try not to prevent the same thing from happening in 2020. Wait, what? Bosworth downplays Russian interference and Cambridge Analytica, saying that Trump got elected simply because he ran the best campaign Bosworth has ever seen, which is, well, okay. But then he goes on to say that Facebook shouldn't do anything to prevent him from getting reelected, and I get that, but the logic here seems flawed to me. Especially when you consider this next story where Facebook will start banning deepfakes on its platform, which it defines as using AI or machine learning to superimpose or alter a video in an effort to deceive people. This does not extend to parody or satire, which it shouldn't, but it also doesn't include political videos, which Facebook says is consistent with its policy to not fact-check political ads. So in short, don't worry, Mr. Bosworth, Facebook is doing absolutely nothing to prevent Donald Trump from getting reelected. And finally, I consider myself a fairly laid-back guy, never really in too much of a hurry to get anywhere, so this last story is definitely not for me. But at CES, both helicopter maker Bell and car maker Hyundai showed off plans for air taxis, getting into the game that has thus far been dominated by startups. Their vehicles largely feature vertical takeoff and landing capability and will allow you to streak across the sky from one end of the city to the other in mere minutes, in theory. Of course, no city is anywhere near ready to actually start making air taxis, let alone support them, but these major manufacturers jumping on board suggest that perhaps that future is closer than we all think. I'll probably never take one, but someday you might. And so that's going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about DigitDailyPod.com. Once again, I'm Doud, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.